To the final series in the controlled, guided, and free writing series. So this video takes a look at how we can put all of these kinds of writing activities together to make scaffolded writing and differentiated writing tasks. Okay, so before we get started, let's have a quick recap. What are controlled writing, guided writing, and free writing again? Well, controlled writing is used mostly for beginning writers, but it can be used for all levels. This really helps students acquire and practice a new language structure. So if you notice, for example, that your intermediate or advanced students are having difficulty with, I don't know, the present perfect tense, you might want to do a controlled writing activity with them to get them to understand how the present perfect tense is done. Again, this is really focused on specific aspects of the language, so using key vocabulary or using grammatical structures. And it's really good for helping students practice that. Guided writing, on the other hand, often used for more intermediate writers, but can be used for all levels, and it really focuses on the macro structure. Okay, when you're reviewing something, when you're practicing something new or reviewing something that you've just learned. So especially when it comes to writing a new text type. So if you're writing a newspaper article, where does the headline go? Where does the picture typically go? Where does the byline go? When you're writing an essay, how do we put the thesis into the right place? Where are the joining sentences? How do you develop a topic? And it's definitely a form of scaffolded writing. Finally, we looked at free writing. And this is the one with the least amount of structure, and it has a totally different purpose. Free writing, yes, we use it for more advanced writers, but it can also be a diagnostic for all kinds of writers. So you get students to write freely as much as they can on a given topic, and then you can use it to check to see where they're at. You can get them to practice familiar structures, but really we want to encourage their creativity, break them out of that sort of worry space of worrying about, am I spelling all the words correctly? Do I have the right grammar? Okay, so now let's have a look at how we can put controlled, guided, and free writing together. Now these exercises can be done separately. You can do controlled writing or guided writing or free writing, but they can also be done within the same exercise. And here's an example one of my students put together a couple years ago. She wanted them to write the story of the mysterious box. So as you can see here, she's included a controlled writing section. She's given them some adjectives, a word bank of adjectives that they can use, and asked them to fill in the blank, specifically with the adjectives. She's also given them a chance to continue the story, asking them what's inside the box and describing their reactions. And she's also given them a chance to really just go nuts, be creative with the last part of it. What did you do with the content of the box? Are you going to finish the story with an open ending, like we don't know what happened, or are you going to tell people? So how do we set up this kind of writing activity? Well, the first step, of course, would be to create a controlled writing section. And this is the part that's going to require the most effort from you because you're doing the heavy lifting for your students. You're helping them write the initial part and you're giving them the maximum support. Next, you're going to create the guided writing section. So you're going to provide some support specifically with the structure. And finally, you're going to write instructions for free writing. So how are they going to have a space to write whatever they want freely? So let's do an example together. Step one. Here's the part where we create the controlled writing. And I'm going to use my pizza example. I love pizza. Pizza's about food, blah, 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 blah. Pizza, pizza, pizza. So we have this. Step two, we're going to have a guided writing section. So we start with our controlled, we move to guided. Okay, so an example might be asking questions. What else do you like about pizza? Providing some examples and sentence starters. I also like pizza because. I like to eat pizza when. I eat pizza with. Okay, so you're going to ask the students to use the sentence starters and write 2 more sentences. Finally, we have a free writing section. So we provide instructions that allow students to finish the text, minimal support, and be as creative as possible. So something like this. Finish your pizza text by telling us what other kinds of food you like. Are they as good as pizza or better? So the end result would be something like this. I would hand the student something that looks like this, says fill in the blanks, okay? I love pizza, blank, blank, blank. Step 2, continue the text, answer the questions, use the sentence starters, write 2 more sentences. Okay, so those are my questions and the space to write their answers. And finally, finish your pizza text by telling us what other foods you like. Okay, so you can see this would be the kind of handout that I would ask the students to fill in, and they would take the results and write them out on a piece of paper. So anything that they had to fill in the blanks, they would write out again. So these sentences on the top, these sentences here with the blanks, and the final 2 sentences at the bottom. Okay, so not only can we use the writing continuum, so controlled writing, guided writing, and free writing for scaffolded writing, we can also use it for differentiated writing. And this is so useful when you have a class full of kids, and some of them are streets ahead and are really used to writing in English, and others who are struggling and need a lot of extra support. And so let's look at how that can be done. This is an example of a scaffolded writing activity that one of my students did a few years ago. And her objective was to get students to write a description of a monster. Okay, so this was the objective. But you can see here that we have some language support to get us to the description, and then we also can push the students a little further. Okay. Right, so the green box can be completed by everyone, but if you want to complete the yellow or blue box as your second one. So the idea is that the students have to complete 2 out of the 3 boxes. So your weaker students will complete the yellow box and the green box. The stronger students will start at the green box and move on to the blue one. How do we do this? Well, we're going to start in the middle. Step 1, first of all, what's the writing task? Do we want them to write a letter, a story, or a poem, something else? Step 2, we're going to start in the middle. What do you want everyone to do? What is it that you really want to see that can everybody write? So we're going to create the activity around that. That's the core. Step 3 is we're going to go to the top. So what kind of language support do the weaker students need? What do they need to get to that goal, that level for everybody? Step 4 is go to the bottom. How can you push the stronger students to be even more creative and use personalized writing style? Okay. So let's do this together. For example, I want my students to write an email to somebody requesting some information. Okay, I'm going to start with the middle. What do I want everyone to do? I want them to write an email. So I'm giving them kind of a scaffolded or controlled writing activity. I want them to fill in the blanks with information about the email address, the purpose, someone's name, and the subject. And they might have to finish the sentence here. It's a little challenge. Okay, so that's what I want everyone to be able to do. What kind of language support do my weaker students need in order to get there? Do they need vocabulary? Maybe I need to provide them with some word banks. Do they need some sentence structures? Maybe I should provide them with some models, with some more fill in the blanks or even options. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like for me. All right, so my fill in the blanks here, if they don't know what the purpose or subject is, I can say, well, you can choose one of these. What's the purpose? My package, my order, or my request. Purpose and subject. If you used it there, you can also use it back here. So to email address, subject is my order. Dear Mr. Green, I'm writing to you today about my order. I would like to know, and we can have a choice here, when it will be delivered, where it is now, why it is delayed. I look forward to hearing from you. Sincerely, give the name. Okay. So by the end of this, we've given them all the language support they need here to be able to reach this green goal here. Okay, now if you recall, the last step is to go to the bottom. How do we push the stronger students to be more creative and use a more personalized writing style? We can challenge them to change the topic, to change the purpose, or even change the audience. So for example here, I said, okay, write an email using this model. So use this kind of general overall model. but I want you to change the topic. For example, you can ask about getting a job that you saw advertised. You can write to a teacher about an extension or about doing a cool project. Or you can choose something else. Like, for example, you can write to your grandma asking if she will give you some money to buy a new bicycle. So the final step here is to put a handout together with clear instructions for the students. So just remember that the students should do either yellow and green, like this. Okay, so you tell them you do two of those, yellow and green, or green and blue. Same handout, two of the three sections. All right, so just to recap again, we can use that writing continuum, controlled writing, guided writing, and free writing, to guide students toward completing a writing task they can't do on their own yet, to provide them support in terms of the micro, so grammar and vocabulary, but also in terms of structure and ideas, so paragraphs and sequencing. And finally, it's great if we add in spaces to allow them to personalize the writing process. Differentiated writing allows students of all different abilities to work toward the same goal. So this one, right? Where do we want them to get to? You can provide support for weaker students on the top level. And you can push stronger students to personalize the writing process and be more creative. And that's it. So that's how the writing continuum, controlled writing, guided writing, and free writing comes together to either be differentiated or scaffolded. Thanks for watching.